Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back, and Rama is here too.
Hello, boys and girls, it's your Uncle Rama. I hope you're staying cool.
And be careful and don't crash your train.
Yeah, don't crash your train. There was another train derailment. This one was over in south of Chicago. An evacuation order has been lifted. Matson, Illinois. This was a Canadian National Railway train consisting of about 25 rail cars carrying various substances when it derailed. 2100 block of Main Street. One rail car containing liquefied petroleum gas leaked a limited amount of the product. It was contained, and officials said there was no danger to the public. It was just kind of weird because at first they had issued a evacuation order that was quoted as being long-term evacuation, but it has been given the all clear. So that's good. That was just kind of strange the way they worded it. So this was our first video this morning, the off-world origins of something that's very touchy, so I won't even say that. The other two are touchy as well, and it's all right there. It's all right there. It's really all we did was quote what's in that book, but a lot of people don't even know what's in that book that 45's holding up in his hand. There's a lot in that book. It's pretty crazy. Now, this some may view as crazy. Aliens may be living among us disguised as humans, so says Harvard researchers. Harvard, Yale, Ivy League. I mean, this is as system as you could get. This is as, part of the programming as you can get. Again, what can you say? When Harvard is saying things like this, then we're in a disclosure time. But of course, disclosure with trying to maintain the power structure in place is what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think there's some controlling aspects here because people are just waking up at too fast of a pace and understanding that this world is controlled by something other than what we see and know to be like the political structure. No, too many people see what's going on. So it's like their way of giving a carrot. Okay, well, maybe there is something here. I don't know. If you look at a lot of the interviews that are done lately with certain political figures, I mean, sometimes you notice a little flap of a thing in the neck. Sometimes you notice there's something in the neck that's just not normal. It's really, really weird, and it's not a goiter.
It's not a tumor.
And it's not a tumor. It just shows up, and you can't help but stare at it. You feel, I don't know. I don't like to stare at people if they look funny, but this is something where you cannot not look at it. It's so the frog throat, the lizard throat thing, pulsing in and out, in and out. And there's just a lot of those. So people are asking questions as they should.
Yeah, we just had UFOs as a term that we used to use in the old days. Now, of course, we have UAPs, and you also have USOs, underwater submerged objects. Of course, Foo Fighters, that's an old term, and those basically are what we would call orbs of some sort today, which we know to be kind of drones, some of extraterrestrial, or maybe it's interterrestrial, or maybe it's beings again under the water, or perhaps interdimensional. We have all this going on. You got CryptoTerrestrial Hypothesis. CryptoTerrestrial Hypothesis. What's that? Well, according to this paper, Scientific Discussion Around Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, the official government term for UFOs has been dominated by two main classifications: human technology, conventional terrestrial origin, or extraterrestrial origin, civilizations arriving from somewhere other than Earth. Now researchers have since considered a more unorthodox set of theories, the Ultraterrestrial Hypothesis, which includes in this subset of theories is the CryptoTerrestrial Hypothesis. the possibility of non-human intelligences living amongst us, either concealed underground, underwater, or disguised as humans. Well, we've seen so many versions of Biden's and Hillary Clinton's, and even Nancy Pelosi in spots where it looks like her mask is coming off, not to mention Albert Bourla's neck or Kamala Harris's neck and others. All these people in top positions that, how many, what was that guy's name? The Pennsylvania Fetterman. How many versions of Fetterman did we see? At least 6 or 7. It's gotten to be kind of laughable, kind of silly, kind of like stupid, because it's like, do you think we're that blind? Well, here they go, disguising themselves as humans. There's 43 pages here, and there's a PDF. I'll link it for you guys. So how many non-humans have you seen disguising themselves as humans? Oh, that's a good question.
Well, this is where we learn to listen to what we feel. When someone passes by you, you just get a weird feeling, and maybe it's an attachment that they have, or maybe there's a little creature that's following you around, zapping out, sending out rays, because there's things in this world that can affect this 3D nature that we cannot see. And this is something that Mike and I, I can say that we do specialize in it. We help people for whatever might be going on in their lives. Mike is really, really good at clearing, and he can clear from a distance. He doesn't have to be in the building. And we're also really good at helping people understand what might be around their energies. What are they calling in? What's going on? Where's your guides, angels? All of this stuff is out there. And that's what we do. But more and more people are understanding that, and they can't hide it any longer. So I guess, what is that old saying? If you can't beat them, join them type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting world, to say the least. When we look at evidence that's right there for us to look at any time, if we just notice it. Just notice it. We were talking about the evidence in the Old Testament. It's right there. And this is Google Earth. And Mr. MBB was showing this the other day. Somebody had sent him a photo saying, hey, what do you think this is? Now, he was thinking this is an antenna array. My immediate thought was, this looks like when you look at aerial photos of city streets. It's the same sort of grid work. Is this a network of underground streets or buildings? Is this, somehow dome enclosed? For our flat earther friends, they'll bring up that D word. Is this SpongeBob and Patrick, having fun under the sea in a dome? And it's literally a city under there? What's up with this? Do they want us to see this? Is this part of it now? Has this always been there, is the case? I've noticed weird things that have been there since 2017 when I first discovered them early on with the channel, and they haven't changed. I didn't notice this before. This looks like it might be a little round robin, some sort of little circle in there. But otherwise, these lines are perfect. They're perfect angles. This is, by the way, this is off the west coast of Florida. It's north of Cuba or east of Mexico, the Yucatan. And it's also in an area, see this area here, the light blue, when we are in a full ice age, this is all land. This is an area that would be perhaps still submerged, or it could be partially submerged when we're in full-blown ice age and full glaciation. Very curious, to say the least. There's a lot of anomalous things that we see, and it's just all this. Is somebody signing their name to this? What's going on? Is this all part of just the programmers having fun with us, like laughing? And throwing stuff in there. Here, let's give them this one. Yeah, okay, you stick that there, George. All right. And let's watch the videos when they discover this.
That would be the easy thing to do, is just stick them in there and watch people try to figure out what it is. That would be a fun game. And I'm sure there somewhere on Google they play these games with people. But with that array, that funny little array, I did throw in my remote viewing skills there, and I do feel electricity. I feel electricity, but with most remote viewing, you run into a problem with translation, because we've really been raised up in a very small world and been given a very small education, an education that helps us describe things in the 3D. That's what we have been given. So when you start to look at this stuff and build that muscle of remote viewing and psychic abilities, you start getting stuff, but you don't have all the right words for it. But when I was remote viewing it, there's a type of fish entity down there, and they do have an advanced consciousness. I'm not saying that they're like us and they walk around and just, breathe underwater. I'm not saying that. It's just there is a consciousness under there that could be the fish that is with the fish. There's something down there. Is it a testing? Could it be a underground city, and we're seeing the outline of it? There's consciousness down there, guys. I guess that's what I'm saying. That's what I feel safe going with, and something called electricity, or I would call it electricity, something where power runs through, so different consciousness can survive.
Yeah, this is not the only place too, because there are other areas. We had shared in a video not too long ago, the area where the South Atlantic anomaly was. There's a similar, smaller, I would say, but similar array down there. And again, that's all the way above Antarctica, off the coast of both Africa and South America. Then over here off the coast of Costa Rica, there's this runway type of formation that's always hit me as very weird. And I first saw this way back in 2017. There is also one that was off the coast of Los Angeles that's since been scrubbed. And people made note of that and said, hey, look, they took that one away. It looked like it was an entrance into inner Earth. But, again, these lines, they hit me like a runway.
Mm-hmm. And when I looked at this one, what I felt was not an underwater consciousness, but land that we have not been told about, land that is unfamiliar, land that if you're going through there by air or by sea, it's not going to be noted on the map. So I found that kind of curious.
Yeah. Is there some sort of shielding that they're doing to omit this? Are they using some sort of either psychic shield or technological shield?
Whenever they hide something, one of the two is going to be in place. So they're always going to do the psychic. So people, it might be there, but people just they don't recognize it. They don't feel like looking, or for whatever reason, that little thought comes in the back of their head and they say, no big deal. It's probably just nothing. And this is what the power structure does. These are the shields that they put in place. But we also have the technology of shielding. What I thought was really, really fun lately, what we've been seeing are those monoliths out in the desert, monoliths everywhere. And notice how they are made of mirrors. And notice how if you look at those mirrors, and if you don't know that you're looking, you're probably just going to look right past the monolith if you're not really focused on it. Or if you're in a hurry, you're not going to see it. And I do believe strongly that there is one of those two in play.
Interesting. By Cocos Island National Park, which is a part of Costa Rica. And so it's fascinating. And the one area that we were looking at that's, north of Cuba again, not really too far away from the Bermuda Triangle. For those that remember the old Bermuda Triangle, and I've gone through this area. It was not too far from the Turks and Caicos that I and three other friends I was with while on a cruise ship, saw a USO. We saw a light that was appearing to be from under the ocean, seemed to be following the ship. And then it was up above the water, and we were like questioning, it couldn't be a ship that was way on top of a wave, because that wave would have just swamped the boat. It would have been hundreds of feet high, so it was no wave. But it seemed very unusual, and so we kind of thought it was a UFO. There's Bermuda, and nobody seems to talk about the Bermuda Triangle, but there's been numerous ships and planes that have disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle, including 5 Navy bombers back in December in 1945, and then a plane that went looking for them ended up disappearing too. 1918, these are warriors too, curiously enough. The Cyclops, the USS Cyclops, 542-foot-long Navy cargo ship, over 300 men, 10,000 tons of manganese ore on board, sank somewhere between Barbados, Chesapeake Bay. Never sent out a distress call. At least they assume it sank, but they never found it. And in 1941, 2 of the Cyclops sister ships similarly vanished without a trace on the same route. Now, that could have been an act of war, but there's other ones too. I mean, there's been so many. There's been weird magnetic anomalies that have been experienced there as well. Is it just a vortex area? Is it something to do with the poles? Is it something to do simply with abductions?
This is a very unique place where I guess it's open to humans because they have to let it be open to humans. Or because if the alien power structure, if they were to rope it off, they would have some explaining to do. But, there's things going on there that I find very, very curious and interesting. And I really think in many ways it should be roped off, because there's interdimensional portals, there's different layers of ether. It's almost like when I look to these ships that disappeared and airplanes that disappeared, they go to an alternate reality. And I don't find them to be in a good one. I find them to be stuck in a loop. So this is a very curious place, and I think it should be reserved for those who can actually master it, and those who understand what's going on in there, those who can see and feel portals. If you're a human and you're going through this area, you're going to experience some really weird stuff. I mean, talk about your spidey senses going off and your energy body going awry. There's tons of different emotions as you float through a certain portal. You're going to feel that, and there's not going to be much of an explanation for it. So this just really brings about a lot of confusion, is what it does. And in my point of view, I find it to be very dangerous. I don't think people should be going through it. There are aliens who understand it. There are aliens who can map the portals, who know exactly what's going on, and they avoid it when appropriate. Because they can see a lot more than we can.
I thought this sign was cute. It says, due to ghosts haunting our store, we cannot use our computers or ovens. Please be patient as we wait. It is a reality that we are surrounded by many beings that we cannot see. That is part of the reality that we do face. Many people don't understand that. Many people do. It's interesting, too, that there were studies that were done, I believe it was by the Monroe Institute, that showed that when the sun was quiet and not too active, we had more quote-unquote paranormal experiences, and also that EMF fields could interfere with our ability to perceive things that are there. Just typically you may not see them, or you may see them, and perhaps that's why maybe there's more encounters out in nature, or in quiet places, or in places that are far removed from cities. And the reason why you don't have a lot of encounters necessarily in cities, though Charleston, South Carolina might be a different story, as that place is very, very haunted. So is Savannah. and in other locales as well, where there's been war, where there's been a lot of traumatic events that can leave an energetic imprint on the environment. But also just think about it, again, so much of the population, the majority of the population, is living in massive EMF fields that are interfering with your ability to perceive things that you probably could sense in one way, shape, or form. Maybe it's just the hair going up on the back of your neck when something that is maybe not visible, but very much right there, walks by you or floats by you. When I was in South Carolina, I moved to South Carolina back in 2007, and then was basically made acquaintances with a group of soldiers from Fort Jackson who let me know that they were paranormal investigators, and then with my skill set, they wanted me to join them, so I did, and it was a blast. It was so much fun investigating different quote-unquote hauntings, of which, we had scientific verification of so many different occurrences on a pretty regular basis, and help people to even clear areas where they were in their homes or in their place of business, and it was being disruptive. So I would clear the area after we were done with the investigation, if that's what they wanted me to do. And that's what Cindy and I do every day at a distance. We've cleared people's space with people in Australia, New Zealand, Africa, South America, Europe, and of course North America as well, all over the globe, as just a regular daily routine. It's just what we do.
Mm-hmm. It's what we do, and we continually learn, we continually get better at it, we continually learn to understand. The only thing that I've noticed is sometimes it's instant, and sometimes people might have a little 2 or 3 minute delay before they start feeling the energy or feeling the changes around them. And sometimes it happens, shortly after the appointment is booked. It's just really, really strange how this thing we call a quantum network is put together. It's very curious, and we're looking at this pup here, and he's just staying cool, and he's enjoying life, and that's what we should do too.
Absolutely. Stay hydrated, stay cool, guys. Much love, source blessing.